Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you everybody for joining today and taking the time out of your busy day. We really appreciate it. I'm Kevin Greenway and I'll be your compere as well as presenter in today's webinar. And I'm joined today by Alex Perkins of Inuvika, and with which I'll be introducing shortly. We're here to present how to revolutionize your app and desktop delivery with 10ZiG and Inuvika by unleashing efficiency and slashing costs. Before we get underway, I just have a small bit of housekeeping first. The slide deck and webinar recording will be shared following the webinar, so you don't need to worry about taking notes. And as mentioned, it will be shared after we've completed the webinar. There is also a Q&A at the end of the session. However, also feel free to drop any chat questions in during the session. There is a chat panel in the GoToWebinar applet, which hopefully you can see, and we'll try and review these throughout the webinar and also at the end during the Q&A session. We'll also be throwing up some poll questions during the event, and it would be really helpful if you could get your participation in this, just so we can gauge our audience and review our attendees' sort of current state of play in the various sort of points and topics that we'll be covering today. So with that, let's go ahead and kick start. So firstly, just to do some quick introductions to Alex and myself, I'll start before handing to Alex. So I'm Kevin Greenway, CTO of 10ZiG. I've worked in IT for 25 years, and of that time, 12 years for 10ZiG. So I come from a support and product management background, and I have a lot of experience in certification in Microsoft and Linux-based server and client operating systems. I also have Cisco certifications and a lot of experience in networking and remoting protocols. In past and current roles, I've specialized in unified communications, CTI, and obviously with my time with 10ZiG over the past 12 years with VDI and remoting protocols. I'm based today from very sunny headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona, and really excited today to be joined by Alex. So Alex, I'll hand to you to give a quick introduction.
Thank you, Kevin. Hi, everyone. I'm Alex Perkins. I am Technical Director of Inuvika. I, like Kevin, have been in IT for as long as I can remember. It's probably the best part of 20 years now. And almost 10 years of that I've been with Inuvika. My background is very varied. I've worked in everything from e-learning. I've been a data center manager. I've worked in sales support. I've worked for one of Europe's largest SAP consultancies as well. So there's not a huge amount in the IT field that I actually haven't been involved with. I am based in the south coast of the UK, so that's where I am today. And sadly, not as sunny and toasty as Phoenix, but very excited likewise to be part of this presentation today. Back to you, Kevin.
Good stuff. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, hopefully everybody can see the screen. Just verify you can see the screen, Alex, as in the slide deck. Good.
No,
slight hiccup there. No?
It hasn't come yet.
Bear with me a second. You gotta love live webinars.
The demonstration effect, as they say.
The demo gods are not with us. Bear with me one moment. I'm just going to quit out and come back in.
we go. See your screen now.
Okay, apologies for that, everybody. Yeah, they say the GoToWebinar had a quick hiccup. Let me bring that slide deck back in and we can continue on. So hopefully everybody can see that now on the Meet the Presenters slide. And as mentioned, we'll press ahead. So a quick cover of our agenda today. We'll be covering our joint messages, followed by an introduction of both 10ZiG and Inuvika. And we'll then be doing a demonstration of the joint solution, and that will be covered in two parts. Firstly, the Inuvika OVD overview, followed by a 10ZiG demonstration where we'll be showing connection and securing the client by connecting to Inuvika. And then we'll then cover some key takeaways of our joint offering, and as mentioned on the opening slide, some Q&A at the end. And just again, a quick reminder, the recording and slide deck will be shared after the webinar. So starting off, Alex, I'll let you start with your joint message on Inuvika.
Thank you. Yeah, so Inuvika OVD Enterprise is a virtual app and desktop solution. It provides the ability to deliver apps and desktops to any device ultimately. It is a cost-effective and scalable solution for businesses of all sizes. That can be, one user, it could be 100,000 users. It's, it will scale both vertically and horizontally as necessary. And it offers a centralized management that enhances security and simplifies IT administration. We absolutely live and breathe the fact that this kind of solution should be simple, it should be straightforward, and that is what the product is designed with at heart. It is a true zero trust solution as well. So there is every part of the solution is designed for users to have minimal access, rather than giving everyone absolutely everything, and then you have to lock it down. We operate on a security first principle, which is very important these days. And over to you, Kevin.
Fully agreed. Yeah, fully agreed. And I like some of those key points that you mentioned about simplicity and the security angle as well. So on to the 10ZiG side of things, we're essentially a single vendor endpoint hardware and software provider, where we make up modern VDI endpoints, which is supportive of Inuvika. Our thin client hardware supports both our own Linux OS in the form of PeakOS, as well as Windows 10 or 11 IoT options. We also offer a Linux-based repurposing OS, which can be used to either extend life and reduce costs in replacing PCs, laptops, and third-party thin clients, or as we'll cover, even sort of refreshing existing hardware in order to leverage Inuvika. If, for example, if you're using existing thin clients, perhaps with another solution that isn't supportive of Inuvika. And all of this is coupled together via our 100% free cloud-ready management tool, which I have a slide on. And again, to touch on Alex's point, the restrictive method first. All of our operating system is read-only. It's a minimalist sort of attack surface, so it really plays well again into that zero trust concept, which seems to come up daily at the moment. So with that, we'll move on to the 10ZiG side of things, which is a quick intro to 10ZiG for those that aren't aware. So as mentioned, we're a one-stop shop. So we're a singular vendor that offer both hardware and software for thin and zero clients. And what also differentiates us from our competitors is that this is our sole focus. So we only focus on the endpoint side, and specifically for VDI and DaaS solutions. As I mentioned, I'm working out of our headquarters today in Phoenix, Arizona, and we also have our EMEA HQ based in the UK, which is where I permanently reside, with satellite offices in Germany and Australia. We've been in business for over 20 years now. We started out in IBM terminal emulation before switching our focus fully to VDI back in 2009, and that's where we were essentially rebranded as 10ZiG for that full focus. We are affiliated with all of the major VDI and DaaS vendors, and obviously as part of that, Inuvika today as well. And you'll see us at a lot of EUC and IT tech shows, and we're also long-standing partners and sponsors of various user groups. Most recently, we're a founding partner of World of EUC. So if you haven't heard of World of EUC, I would recommend you look that up and follow them on socials. They're getting a really good backing. online, and very good community that's driven around sort of agnostic EUC. Our team hold full industry standard certifications, and that essentially helps you with every pillar of our company, whether it's sales, whether it's technical, etc. So moving on to our product line, first starting off with our thin clients, which is really the core of the company, as I've mentioned. So to offer complete flexibility, we offer Intel or AMD based thin clients, and these, we have different ranges of these, as you can see on the slide. They're aimed at starting off with task worker up to a knowledge worker, and a knowledge worker, tend to use productivity tools, communication tools like Teams, Zoom, WebEx, etc., as well as power users, so users potentially that would use 3D CAD and visualization type applications. We offer both traditional fixed or desktop based thin clients, again, as you can see here, as well as all-in-one, so the compute power basically baked into the monitor, and all-in-ones are typically used in education and healthcare settings, amongst others. And more recently, we've introduced a thin client-based laptop into the portfolio, and this is really useful for the mobile workforce. So whether you're fully remote, whether you're hybrid, or just simply to provide flexible working in and around the corporate or home working environment. As mentioned, the hardware is then powered by our own Linux OS, as well as Windows IoT, and that provides a secure, standardized user experience. And as mentioned, all of this is managed via 10ZiG Manager, which I have a slide on shortly. As mentioned, more recently, we've introduced, in addition to thin clients, our Linux operating system, which can be used to repurpose existing assets such as PCs, laptops, and third-party thin clients. And this is essentially based on the identical foundation to the operating system that runs on our own thin client hardware. And it's very useful in situations where your initiative is on sustainability and extending life of existing IT assets, but importantly, providing the same benefits of security, management, and offering a consistent user experience across the board. So essentially, whether you're using 10ZiG hardware or not, your users all have a consistent user experience. Everything has the same security principles and is managed through 10ZiG Manager. It's very easy to implement. You can either implement it via USB stick, which you can run the operating system live, or you can install it over the top of an existing operating system, and it can be deployed centrally through the 10ZiG Manager. I'm just going to start by throwing up the first poll of the day. Again, if you could participate in that poll, I would really appreciate it. So this is really just to gauge what endpoint devices you're using to connect to your virtual desktops and applications. So again, if you could just select here what you're using today to connect to your virtual desktops and applications, and once we get some results back, I can show those on screen. It's nice to see we're getting good participation here, so really appreciate that. I see we've still got some votes coming in, so I'll leave it for a few more seconds and have a taste of coffee. All right, so I think that about completes the votes. We've got 70% participation there, so that's great. Thanks for everybody's participation. I'm just going to close that poll and I'll share the results. So running at the top here, we've got 61% of attendees are using laptops, followed up by 56% of thin clients. We've got 39% using PCs, 11% third-party thin clients, and then 6% not applicable. So I guess you're either looking to start or showing some interest in running virtual desktops and apps. So yeah, good sort of share of results there. Thank you very much. On to the next slide. This is 10ZiG Manager. So I've mentioned that this couples together our operating systems to provide the management of those operating systems. The key thing for 10ZiG Manager is that it's completely free. So we include it with either our 10ZiG thin clients, whether they're Linux or Windows based, as well as the repurpose operating system. And the management tool can manage both our Linux-based OS as well as Windows-based endpoints. Typical features include remote management capability through our secure connector. So the secure connector can be either deployed into like a DMZ type situation or in the cloud. And all of this is managed through a browser-based console, as you can see on screen, and you'll see some interaction with the web console when we get to the demo part. The manager, as mentioned, can be installed either on-premise or in cloud. There's a role-based access tool for providing secure and granular access. And some management ability includes automated configuration. So for example, we could deploy a template, as you'll see when we get to the demonstration, for deploying the Inuvika client configuration across your client base. We also support obviously firmware updates, the ability of shadowing the endpoints securely, schedule tasks, reporting, and more. So everything is, again, coupled together through the 10ZiG Manager centralized management tool. So with that, I'm just going to hand to you, Alex, to go through the Inuvika introduction.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, so a quick summary of who we are and what we do. Inuvika has existed since 2014. We've been in business over 10 years now. The product itself has been around a little bit longer than that, but in its current form of OVD Enterprise, it has been our flagship product for say almost a decade now. It is a virtual apps and desktops product. It can deliver applications and desktops, be it VDI or session-based, both Windows and Linux applications and desktops, to any device, either via a web browser, through a laptop, a desktop, through a thin client such as 10ZiG. And this can be any kind of application you can imagine. I don't think there's actually anything we haven't been able to deliver yet. So it can be that single application that was designed in 1990 that doesn't want to work on anything modern. It can be brand new applications. It can be centralizing internet browsing securely that's going through sort of one secured entry and exit point within the corporate network. We are headquartered in Toronto, Canada. We have our EMEA head office in Guildford in the UK. We have development teams and our support teams as well based in Nova Scotia, Canada. We also have people in Western Canada, and we also have people in Caen in France as well. We sell exclusively indirectly through our partner network. That's now in over 50 countries worldwide, and it's growing more and more every day. And the partner network includes resellers for both on-premise and MSP and hosting partners as well. We directly do not offer a hosted solution of Inuvika OVD Enterprise. It is provided through our partner network, so it's offered as sort of a desktop as a service, but it comes exclusively through our partner offering rather than us providing that directly. Next slide, please. So what is it that we do in a bit more detail? So in a nutshell, we deliver secure virtualized Windows and Linux apps to any device, anywhere. It's a very straightforward solution. It's very easy for both users and administrators. Most companies that we put OVD Enterprise into ultimately end up with a huge amount of time and cost saving, certainly even just from the workforce perspective, before you start looking at the TCO savings around the reduced hardware, the reduced software licensing for the Windows piece, because we are exclusively a Linux backend for all of the management components. So there's a huge amount of savings to be made right across the board. It's not just about the way you deliver the apps, but it's about the ecosystem as well. Certainly if you're moving to things like thin clients or repurposing old equipment, if you're going to use the 10ZiG RepurpOS, for example, it's a great way to extend that longevity of the older hardware that you may have, reducing the sort of replacement cycle and extending that lifetime. We are a subscription-based product. It works on a concurrent user basis, so there's no named user or named device options. It's very straightforward. It's just the number of people connected at any one point in time, regardless of the device or the apps or the desktops that they're using. And as I said before, it's a far simpler product. It doesn't require the technical skill set. This is especially good in markets that aren't particularly familiar with the idea of delivering apps through VDI, or in a more centralized environment where people are coming from a typical desktop server approach. So there isn't a need for that great skill set and massive certification programs in order to be able to deliver our product. Next slide, please. So the key takeaways for what we do: you can work from anywhere. So it is removing the ability to need a VPN. You can deliver apps and desktops securely to any device anywhere in the world as long as you have an internet connection. Data protection, so everything is managed, all the data is securely stored and managed where the OVD environment resides. You can lock the session down as well, and you can remove the ability to copy, paste, print, USB redirection, all that kind of stuff. So it can literally be screen, keyboard, and mouse. We're great for legacy apps, so extending the lifetime of those applications that are either difficult to maintain or difficult to port into a more modern environment. We have a lot of people that are doing legacy applications with OVD. And also talking about PC alternatives, moving away from this psychology that you need a desktop, you have to have a physical machine in front of you with everything installed on it. The reality is, as long as you've got a device that you can connect into and access a virtual workspace, you can get on and work these days. You don't need to have everything available on your desktop. It can be in another location as long as it works and functions the same way that you're used to. Another couple of points just to touch on: we include a secure gateway, so there's no additional separate gateway product needed, so which saves again on the licensing front. We have best-in-class USB redirection. You can redirect pretty much any device into Inuvika OVD. That is also supported on 10ZiG as well. It has built-in multi-factor authentication, so there's no need for an external provider, and there's lots of additional settings that you can tweak and change to enhance that security as needed. We have best-in-class multi-tenancy. It's one click to enable it. Very, very easy. There's nothing complicated about that at all. It was designed with MSPs and partners in mind to deliver a multi-tenant solution that people actually want to use, that has all the feature set that is required. And you can do multi-monitor for up to 16 screens. I've actually seen somebody using it on 12. So it's it very much is a reality, that one. Nice. I think that's all my slides done.
Perfect. Okay, so thanks for that, Alex. We're just going to get now to the demo of the joint solution, and starting off with part one, which is an overview and demonstration of Inuvika OVD. So Alex, I'm just going to make you the presenter so that you can run through that demo.
Thank you. Yeah, it's going to make sure that it is activated to the right screen. Yes, it is. Okay. Hopefully you can see my screen.
Yep.
Wonderful. Okay, so this is a 20-minute demo. It's going to take you through the A to Z in a nutshell of how Inuvika OVD works and functions. So please enjoy.
Inuvika OVD Enterprise is a digital workspace platform that allows users to securely access Windows and Linux apps and desktops on private or public cloud. Built on Linux with Inuvika's resource containerization, our product allows data centers to run more efficiently using less infrastructure. We also have a single easy-to-use admin console that you will see on this demo. In this video, we're going to review the system architecture, take you through the end-user experience, and walk you through our admin console. Let's start with our infrastructure requirements and how Inuvika OVD pieces everything together. On the left and right-hand sides of this diagram, you have your entry points. These can either be remote to the OVD solution or local, as you see on the right. This is where users can connect from a closed network with no external access. You can connect with any device. It can be a web client, which works in any modern web browser. It can be our desktop client, which is available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. We also support Chromebooks, most major thin clients, Android, and iOS devices. If you're coming from the remote side of things, you'll come through from your device of choice and go through the Enterprise Secure Gateway. This handles all of the client connectivity between the client and the server across a single port, removing the need for a VPN. The connection now goes across to the session manager, which is responsible for the brokering, session management, and all other types of policy controls. The web access also sits behind the enterprise secure gateway to ensure everything stays secure. It will then go across to the directory service that you use. So this could be our internal directory, it could be Active Directory, or anything that is LDAP compliant. It goes from there across to the OVD file server to bring online your user profiles. We also support FSLogix for customers wishing to use that. From there, we go across to the application server. This can be one-to-one VDI using Windows 10 or 11, or it can be session-based applications and desktops using Windows Server or Linux server-based operating systems. In both scenarios, you can use both applications and desktops. Now I'm going to take you through a demo of the product, starting with the user experience. We're going to start here with our desktop client. As previously mentioned, it's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. You have two choices of mode here. You can choose application mode that gives you just the applications in a seamless manner, or you can choose desktop mode that gives you a Windows full desktop experience. Both modes are multi-monitor capable, so you can have up to 16 monitors to display your applications. I'm going to start here with application mode. I'm connecting using our built-in two-factor authentication on the login, but we can work with Duo or any SAML2 product like Okta. So you can see now it's initializing the session. It is silently loading all of the applications and they will be ready for you to use them. The experience is exactly the same, whether you're doing this on Windows, Mac, or Linux. The applications integrate neatly into the local operating system. This is great when you have users that are using a small number of applications, or potentially they want to run applications alongside their local apps. So you can see a mix of applications now available on here. This user has both Windows and Linux-based applications. What you'll notice is that our apps load quickly without the delays of other products. So we can go ahead and load a video, for example. Or here is Paint, where I can create this incredible piece of artwork. We can load multiple applications at the same time. And I've just popped open this 3D rendering so that you can see it working seamlessly as well. You see at the bottom that you have an icon that opens a launcher that allows you to see the apps that are delivered by OVD rather than having to close or move screens to see the desktop. I'm going to log out and log back in from that so that you can see that experience in application mode as well. It works slightly differently in that the apps are chosen from a drop-down. Just quickly here is Microsoft Paint running in a Mac and behaving like it's natively installed. Now let's look at desktop mode in Windows. Again, we will authenticate using 2FA. And you will now see a full desktop experience. We will open the same video that you saw in application mode, and you can see it playing smoothly. Now let's reopen the 3D rendering, and once again, a crisp experience like you have already seen in application mode. I'm just going to open a Word document here so that I can show you printing. Just do a bit of typing. You can print directly to printers being redirected automatically from your local device, like the printers here, showing redirected in their name. You also have the ability to save and open files that are stored on the local machine as well. So you see here it's redirecting all the drives through from the laptop. I will mention here that we have top-notch USB redirection on our enterprise desktop client in both application mode and desktop mode for printers, webcams, scanners, audio, and even for server GPUs for graphic-intensive apps. It's important to remember that all of these redirection functions can be limited by group, by user, or globally. So now we're going to take a look at the web client. The web client again gives you two different ways in which you can connect. You have desktop mode, which is effectively desktop in the browser, or we have portal mode, which is application mode on the web. So we were already in desktop mode, and we're going to reconnect back into desktop mode again. You have a security settings button here in case you want to change your passwords. So we're going to authenticate again, and this is going to restore a previously opened session that had Windows Paint already running in the background. So you can see it is still open here, and we could simply carry on working where we left off, as this has now ported the session into the writing browser. The browser still gives you the ability to upload and download files. You can still copy and paste, you can still print, you still have audio in and out. The only thing that you don't get is direct printer redirection from the local machine and the USB redirection functionality alongside file and folder redirection from the machine directly. So it's just worth keeping in mind that the desktop client gives you the most feature-rich experience. Now, if we come out of desktop mode here, we're going to switch into portal mode so that you can see the difference between the two. So we'll go ahead and choose portal mode. We're going to sign back in. We'll just do the two-factor authentication, and this is now going to load portal mode. So this is effectively like application mode on the web. On the left-hand side here are the applications that the user has access to, and on the right-hand side is the optional profile window. This is the user profile being served from the OVD file server. You don't have to have this present. You can just deliver the applications. It can even just be a single application if you wish. But ultimately, applications on the left side here are just selected, and they load in a seamless manner. So that's the user side of the experience. Let's go take a look at the administration console. The administration console is web-based. It's a single pane of glass. Everything you need to do beyond the basic installation of OVD is all managed by the administration console. So we're now logged in. This specific system is multi-tenant enabled. Therefore, the use of storage and session types across the top are grayed out. On the right-hand side, here we have the tenant switcher. I'm currently global level, which is why we see what we do. The test user we're using is the internal demo org. So if we switch into that, now everything across the top is enabled. This splash page gives us access to the most commonly used parts of the infrastructure. From here, we can see a general overview of how the system is looking with the sessions and status. We can also switch the system in and out of maintenance mode as well. So across the top, all the different tabs give us access to the different management layers within this administration console. The system tab, first of all, shows us the multi-tenancy functionality of OVD. So if you have multiple different tenants that are needed to be part of your organization, you can actually segregate OVD into multiple different layers. This is particularly useful in an MSP environment because it allows you to split your tenants out without having to duplicate all the management components. You can have dedicated or shared application servers, file servers, and directory services between all of the different tenants. It is a setting that you literally just enable or disable. At the bottom of this page, you can see it says deactivate multi-tenant mode. If we were in single tenant mode, it would say activate multi-tenant mode, and you wouldn't see the configuration here. Other settings in this page include system settings, which give you login and retention policies, notifications around email. You've got your client customization. This is where all the branding is controlled. So this is a non-branded tenant that we're looking at, but we can look here at branded tenant. You can see here, it shows the different branding, the logos, the color schemes. And remember, this is applicable through the web client, the desktop client, the mobile client, and also the administration console if you're accessing via the specific URL that you have it customized to. The license keys are managed from here. You can have as many license keys as required. They just stack up. Inuvika OVD is a subscription-based product with subscriptions of 12, 36, or 60 months. If you are hosting this as an MSP, we offer a 1-month flex agreement where you can move up and down on a monthly basis. Inuvika OVD subscriptions are by concurrent users, which is the number of people connected at any one point in time. So there can be a considerable savings for companies working multiple shifts of employees. We have very straightforward subscription terms. All features are included as standard, provided you have a valid subscription. You can upgrade to the latest version of the product with all the latest and greatest features that we include as well. You can have multiple administrators. Each of those administrators can be a single tenant, multi-tenant, or global. You can also set administration policies to control what administrators can and cannot do and see within the administration console. So if you want to give an admin just the ability to manage sessions, but not manage applications, that's perfectly doable. It's very easy to set up. Also in this tab, you have service notices. So this is the red box that you see here on a branded login, and this is configured via a service notice. This is a login message that will show across all devices, and because the users don't have to log in to see it, it's very useful to show help desk information, maintenance information, start guide links, or whatever you want to display. You also have a function in here called client restriction. This allows you to restrict the version of the desktop or mobile client that the users are connecting through. This is especially helpful in a BYOD environment, as this can be very difficult to manage. So let's say you've upgraded to the latest version of OVD. When that comes out, you want to ensure all of your clients upgrade to the same version. You can set the restriction in here to the minimum version that they can use, and then you can put a note in here to remind the users that they need to download and upgrade to the latest version. The Users tab is all of your users being managed via the platform. This specific environment uses our internal database, but if you're using Active Directory or LDAP, it reads in your users and your user groups automatically. So it makes it very, very easy to work with an existing directory setup. But ultimately, everything in OVD is published to the users in the groups that exist. Applications are in groups, users are in groups. We publish a group of applications to a group of users. It's very simple. So here we have all of my users that are part of this demo system. We can go and have a look at my user that we've been logging in with so that you can see it. And here it gives you the management around the groups they're a member of, whether their two-factor authentication has been activated. It shows the applications they have access to because of the user groups they are in. And if you go right down, you have the ability to override all the global session settings as well. So this is things like copy and paste restrictions, USB printing, multi-monitor. You can control that globally by group or by user. So it's incredibly flexible in the way that you can control the functionality within the session. So from here, you can come in and enable two-factor methods. You can enforce certain two-factor methods. You can disable it for certain ranges if you're whitelisting it in an office and so on. And also, you can go and configure it if you are using any kind of SAML2 connection. Very straightforward. We have another functionality called messaging. This allows users to receive messages being published from the administrator. Then we have the server tab. This is all the different servers that make up the overall environment. So our demo environment here has a mix of both Linux and Windows application servers. We have our backend Linux components, which is the file server, gateway, web access, and the session manager. And then we have a Windows 10 Pro, 11 Pro, and a Windows Server 22 box alongside the Linux application server as well for those Linux apps. But different tenants in here can have a different configuration of application servers available to them. So if I show you our branded test, for example, you can see that we haven't got the desktop operating system in here. So it makes it very, very easy to control. Now, inside each of these servers, you've got all of your role control. So this is controlling the actual functionality of each of these roles. And this can be disabling or enabling roles. It can be controlling memory and CPU allocation requirements. It can be controlling the applications that they actually have published on them that allow you to control where those applications are coming from in your estate. Your server settings allow you to configure light automation settings around templating. You've also got your load balancing controls for how users get distributed between the available application servers inside the OVD estate. And you can configure this to whatever you want it to be. You've then got something called server groups, which allow you to group users to a specific group of servers. So this could be if you want to do, say, a pooled or a non-pooled approach. If you're doing VDI, it can be by doing a production and test environment that has the same applications installed on both machines. So you can steer users to one environment or the other. Very, very flexible and a very, very powerful feature. Also, all of our high availability is controlled here. So file server clustering, all the load balancing policies around how users actually get distributed between highly available services as well. You've then got the applications tab. So this is all of the apps published to users on the system that get picked up by the agent that runs on each application server published into this list. You add them into an application group and you publish it to the group of users. It's very straightforward. You can have custom applications too. So this can be any application from the main list or something completely custom. So this could be for legacy apps, for example, that are from network shares or anything like that. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to customize these applications, and you can even set a starting directory. So this, for example, is Google Chrome for Windows. And then we've got a custom command on the end that takes it off to our booking website. And it shows an application mode and strips away the browser interface. But the user just sees the Inuvika logo and it says book a demo in the application name. You've got your application groups on the left here. So remember that groups of applications get published to groups of users. You can also block access to specific groups of applications if you're doing maintenance, for example. And then finally, there is a software license reporting feature, which allows you to just track usage and allocation of licenses for software being delivered by the platform. Then you have the storage tab. This gives you access to the user profile management. If you're using our file server, shared folders being delivered via our file server, and also the ability to mount external Windows, Linux, or web-based shares into the user session. Very, very easy to configure. The Sessions tab allows you to see a user at a glance. This actually simulates a user login in real time. So it will show you the user, the groups they're a member of, the applications they have access to, and their permissions and so on. And 2 green ticks here means this user is good to log in both modes. So this is a very useful troubleshooting tool. You then got your global session settings. This is all the different settings that control the functionality and time restrictions and things like that within the session. But because you can override this at a group and user level, it's a very, very flexible tool. You'll see all of these settings in here around things like printing, drives, whether audio is played back, if the clipboard is allowed to be used, and so on. So it's very customizable. And you've also got login scripts as well for anyone that requires that functionality in a variety of languages. So we can go through Windows, for example. You've got all the standard Windows offerings. And the final tab here is the Status and Reports tab. This allows you to see the running sessions. You see my session here is still running. I can go into that session and shadow my user. So I can also view the session and control the session with the permission of that user. It also tracks the CPU and memory usage in real time, which is very useful if you're wanting to use our resource containerization management to control the amount of CPU memory that any user can use. It tracks running applications, the apps they have access to, and all the other parts of the session information, right down to where they're connected in from. So then you've got reporting, which gives you metrics over time, detailed administration logs, allowing you to track what changes have been made in this administration console. You've got very good session history reporting here that allows you to come in and see what users have actually done inside their sessions. And so we can go and look at the specific log entries. We can take a look here at my user session. We can go and see what applications I had access to, applications I loaded, the server they came from, right through to which overwrite settings were set at the time I logged in, and which versions of the client I was connecting from as well. So it's a very, very detailed journal and report. You then have centralized logging that gives you all of the different OVD logs in one place from all of the different servers that make up the estate. This can be very useful if you're trying to diagnose an issue or if you're doing some reporting. Then you've got a number of application licensing and usage reports as well. And this just lets you run reports against the applications that are being delivered to track usage and allocation. And finally, the messaging reports that allow you to see which responses that users have chosen. That is a review of the product. It's a very straightforward product for both users and administrators, but it is incredibly powerful. If you have any questions at all, please contact us at sales@inuvika.com.
Over to you, Kevin.
Thanks for that, Alex. Yeah, thanks for that. I think at least my experience, and it was coupled sort of during the demonstration, was that it's a really intuitive tool, very simple to set up, but at the same time, really flexible and powerful. So yeah, really great demo there. So I'm just going to switch back to my screen, and then we will go through part 2. which is the overview of the 10ZiG Linux OS connecting to Inuvika OVD. So what I'm going to do here is, let me just bring the demo into view, just bear with me a second. So what I'm going to be covering here is a demonstration of a 10ZiG Thin client, where we'll be demonstrating provisioning that client for the first time, securing the client into a typical sort of working environment, and then generating a template of that client, which can be used as a basis for deploying onto either all other clients within an organization, or perhaps a department or region, etc., through the 10ZiG Manager. And what we're looking at here on this opening screen is the 10ZiG Manager web console, which I referred to earlier in the webinar, and we'll be securely connecting remotely to the Thin client, where you can then see the local UI. So we'll just start the demo. So as mentioned, we're going to connect through VNC to the client, but that is tunneled securely through our secure connector. So it's establishing contact with the Thin client through the secure connector. And as mentioned, this is the essentially the opening page. So we get to our configuration wizard, which is a EULA, which read through and agree. We then get to the second stage where we specify our location, which defaults to things to do related to time zone, keyboard language, etc. The location is detected automatically based on network location. And then at the end of the wizard, that completes, and essentially the desktop as it is starts. So we can then go into the control panel via the cog, and we can go into either the connection manager as we're seeing here, or we can just shortcut that by clicking the new option. So this allows us to create connections on the client. So we can see we have a variety of different apps and connection clients on here, including obviously in Inuvika. So the Inuvika client gets added to the PeakOS desktop, and then we can essentially then very easily start that from here, from either the connection manager or the desktop. So the first time we connect to Inuvika, we specify the server and host name, and that is then saved into the client, which can then, again, as mentioned, be used for facilitating the templates of that to deploy those settings onto other clients within the organization. So from here, this just we're just populating username and password, obviously. From the advanced options, as we saw in Alex's demo, we can choose things like full screen or windowed mode. We can also choose the mode between connecting to either desktop or applications. This particular demo does just show a connection into a Windows-based desktop in full screen. But again, we could change that mode that you can see on screen there to be applications, and those applications would launch across the local Linux OS taskbar to allow a user to multitask between essentially locally publish-based apps. So you can see it's very quick and easy. That's the benefit of the operating system, that everything is baked in there by default and very easy to sort of facilitate the setup of that. We also can see here that we can set that connection to automatically start. So when the operating system boots, it will essentially boot directly to that Inuvika client and just greet the user with username and password. We can also see here the control panel options. I'm not going to cover through the entirety of these settings in the demo, but what we are just going to look at, with security being everything these days, is how simple it is to lock the operating system down. So we can set a password for the operating system. And we can also, as you can see, allow what we call user-based applets, like, for example, allow the user to change their display layout or maybe their display resolution, as well as sound properties, but essentially block that user from getting into the control panel, which we're seeing here. Another part of the demo is just to show the desktop customization. So we can, of course, import corporate wallpapers on there. And there is the ability as well to change what we call the modality. So the modality that we have here is our full desktop mode. And I'll just pause the demo here for a moment. So we have some other modalities that we can switch. And one of the most commonly used modalities, if you're using a kind of VDI environment with published desktops, would be something like the kiosk mode. So the kiosk mode would just essentially launch the Inuvika client without any other desktop blur behind. So the taskbar would be removed that we can see here, and it's as easy to switch that in that modality mode. The full desktop tends to be more useful if you're, either using something like Inuvika to connect to apps, as well as if you're using something like a combination of Inuvika and perhaps a Chrome browser, where you want to allow the users to access multiple applications. But that's the modality. And then we'll just come back then to the web console. So then from that point where we've enabled that first device, we can retrieve the configuration from there. We can also edit that configuration through the web console. So some of those options that we saw in the control panel, you can obviously see those here as well. So we can edit those on the fly. So for instance, if we wanted to change the password or change any of those applets, we could do that remotely from the 10ZiG manager as well. And then what we can then do is then generate a template of that. So that template generalizes that to be applied then to, again, either all clients within a specific organization, or perhaps departmental clients. So just to finish off then, this process is generating a template of which it will firstly retrieve the configuration from the client, and then store a configuration template of that, which you can see it's already done in the job log here. And those templates can then be sent on demand. So for example, we can either apply the template to perhaps one or more clients manually or on demand, or we can also automate it through configuration groups. So we have 3 groups here in this particular demo, but we can create groups which essentially filter the clients based on most commonly IP range, but we can also filter them on other parameters like MAC address, for instance, or platform. So various ways to filter those clients down, and again, make the configuration either whole or granular as you see fit. So that gets us to the end of the demonstration. Hopefully everybody found the 2 demonstrations useful as far as the joint solutions concerned. And then we'll start then just to, I guess, wrap up the webinar and hopefully leave some time for questions. So just quickly, this is more, I guess, for existing 10ZiG customers that might already be using either our operating system or our thin clients today. So how do you access Inuvika? So you can access it all from the website. So it does require our latest OS, which was just released barely a couple of weeks ago. So it's 16.5.37. Again, you can access that on the 10zig.com website. And the Inuvika client is available as an add-on, both for PeakOS and RepurpOS. Again, you can download that from the website. If you're a Windows IoT customer, you can either install the Inuvika Enterprise client by downloading it from Inuvika's website. And we also have a package available that you can deploy remotely through 10ZiG Manager. As Alex touched on, that desktop client is fully functional as far as feature set. So we will be introducing very soon also support for USB redirection, camera, audio scanner, and printer is inclusive of that too. So keep an eye, that's coming again very soon. So again, as we head into closure, just want to cover some key takeaways both for 10ZiG and Inuvika. So firstly, remember we're a one-stop shop hardware and software vendor. You don't have to buy either the hardware from one vendor and the operating system from another. We provide everything from under one roof. Remember that we don't just do desktop-based thin clients. We do have a variety of both mobile and all-in-one based options as well. Importantly, we can repurpose your existing endpoints. And this is a twofold thing, whether this is to make the endpoints more secure, also provide a standardized experience across all of your endpoints, and of course to provide remote management as well. And importantly, if you're using potentially thin clients from other vendors that don't support Inuvika, this is a good angle for you to be able to repurpose those endpoints with 10ZiG Repurpose to leverage Inuvika if that's on your journey. And of course, everything being provided from a cost-effective solution where the 10ZiG Manager is wrapped in. Just going to add another quick poll. Bear with me a second. So again, if you could participate in that poll, I'd really appreciate it. Would you like to receive a free demo from either 10ZiG and or Inuvika? Keep those votes coming in. We've got about 50% of attendees voted at the moment, with again good stats on each. Just leave it for a few more seconds. All right, thank you very much. I'll close that poll, and then Alex, I'll hand to you for the Inuvika key takeaways.
Thank you, Kevin. So yeah, just to sort of re-summarize what we talked about earlier. So the takeaways for Inuvika OVD, very much, enhanced user experience. It's about delivering apps in a seamless and a super performant way, and also sort of giving users access to those virtual apps and desktops on any device. Cross-platform compatibility. So our desktop client works on Windows, Mac, Linux. It works on most major thin clients, including 10ZiG, Chromebooks, Android and iOS devices, and you've also got the web client as well. So you can really use any device to access your apps and desktops. Robust integration. It's about reusing what you already have. You don't have to go and buy a load of new servers or invest in a massive new cloud infrastructure to run Inuvika OVD. It could be a drop-in replacement for a competitive solution. It can be used as a sidestep from something that you may already have, or you can start greenfield, but it works very nicely with whatever you have, both apps and from a physical perspective. Cost efficiency, again, that TCO, that total cost saving possibility of up to 50%. So we're reducing the hardware, the operational cost, ultimately the power, the support time. There's a huge amount of things that are taken into account there. And the scalability, it can be one user, it can be 100 users, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, it doesn't matter. The product adapts to the way you work, and we can accommodate the way that you need to grow as a business very, very easily.
Thanks, Alex. Just going to launch the final poll, and then we'll skip into the Q&A to wrap things up. So the final poll, again, if we can have everybody's participation, please, is: are you currently looking for a new platform to deliver desktops and apps for you or your customers? So please get those votes coming in. So starting to come in. So we've got about 50% of the attendees having voted. Please keep them coming in, really appreciate this. All right, I'll close that poll. So thank you very much. Just in terms of the results, we're getting a good percentage of the attendees that are actively looking now, about 16%. We have about 19% which are looking for an alternative in the not too distant future. And interestingly, 3% don't use any form of VDI. So again, appreciate the crowd there coming to the webinar. 19% actively using Inuvika, so that's good. You've got a good following there, Alex. And then 44% that not currently, but just looking to see what's out there. So hopefully some good things to come from the information that was shared on the webinar today. So we'll just wrap up finally. We're right bang on the hour, but let's see if we can get a couple of questions in, if that's okay, Alex. It looks like there are quite a few for Inuvika, which is good. So the first question I've got is: what are the main benefits of choosing Inuvika over a traditional VDI DaaS solution, such as Azure Virtual Desktop or Windows 365 for end user Windows-based workloads?
think if we were going to summarize it quickly, speed, cost efficiency, and ease of management and deployment going forward. Azure Virtual Desktop is a very good solution, but it does have its limitations. We can also integrate with Azure Virtual Desktop as well, so you can use this as a combined solution. So that's something to consider.
Thanks, Alex. We've got another question here just relating to the infrastructure. I think you covered it for the on-prem part, but what infrastructure is required on-prem, or is it cloud-based? And if so, what cloud charges do we need to consider?
So it's the same regardless of whether you host it on-prem or in cloud. It varies depending on the number of users that you have. So you have your base systems up to 100 users. That would be 3 base systems. So you have a multi-role server, a gateway, and then an application server or number of application servers. In a more scaled out environment, it would be 5 base systems, so you're splitting the individual roles up. If that's something that you want us to show as a sizing exercise, if you get in touch with us, we can send you a bill of materials that gives you an accurate representation of how a sort of a generic environment would look based on the user count. But generally speaking, the back end part is very lean because it's Linux based. The application servers are where the bulk of the load, where the users are running their applications, are where you will incur your running costs from a cloud perspective.
Thanks, Alex. Great answer. From the same individual, additionally, will there be a slide comparing Inuvika versus other VDI platforms? I don't know if there's an area on the website or some sort of.
Yes, I say yeah. We have a comparison on the website. Go to the website and go into the product link at the top. You can access all the comparisons on there that compare it to all the major players, and you can see what's what. If you need specific comparisons, again, just reach out. We're happy to go through it.
Awesome, thank you. We have one on the 10ZiG side. Is it possible to PXE boot via diskless client? It is possible to PXE boot, yes. However, the PXE boot is essentially just an imaging station for actually deploying the operating system on there. So again, to clarify, you can PXE boot those clients, but it does require some sort of disk in order to deploy that image. If it is a diskless client, then we would recommend using the USB method to essentially run that live off the USB drive. We also have another question from a customer who's using some Dell-wise, I think 3040 clients. Does this support repurpose? The good news is yes, it does. So you can repurpose those clients to access Inuvika. And I think the final question for Alex is, compared to Horizon View, how do you handle user-generated customization and personalization? So HP uses DEM.
So we are a persistent desktop product. We don't offer image management like Horizon View does, with sort of non-persistent and persistent pools where you're spinning up from link clones and things like that. It is coming later in the year where we are adding an image management feature, which will work like link clones. Ultimately, if you're doing a direct comparison, it behaves like Citrix MTS, where you will have a gold image and then you will have a change disk, but the profile management will all be FSLogix controlled. So it can be persistent or non-persistent, but ultimately the settings and all the user preferences will roam regardless of the system that they go to. Just bear in mind, obviously, the image management piece is still being developed at this moment in time.
Nice. And there was just, again, another final question about requesting exactly that. Is there a non-persistent desktop option? So I think again,
yes, there is also. There's a setting to make it non-persistent. You can have non-persistent desktops where it roams. You can have full non-persistency where the session is completely flushed down every time the user logs out, so it's clean for kiosk use cases, for example.
Excellent. Well, thanks for everybody's questions on that. I hope everybody has enjoyed today's webinar. Thanks very much for working with you, Alex. It's been great. I've enjoyed the sort of build up to this and the preparation together, and hope to do another one with you sometime soon.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.